Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This show focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. And this title today is There Are No Shortcuts in Bitcoin. So we're going to talk about a variety of different things today, actually. I mean, it's Thursday, and Wednesdays are private day, you might say. As I said to Jerry last night on the stream, that Wednesdays are the private show where I take my shirt and pants off. No, you don't get that. You're not subject to that. But we do a really good, we get a really good thing going on Wednesdays. It's called Proof of Work. And had a good show yesterday too. Had some people send me a couple messages and comments and stuff. But I would highly recommend if you're watching this today and you're a regular viewer of the show, make sure you sign up for Living in the Future. You get the Wednesday show. That's kind of like the main thing right now. Plus, you get all the videos on the channel that have ever been done, including the ones that aren't on YouTube. Plus, you get access to the Signal chat and the Proof of Work course there. So my advice to you would be sign up for it today. We've had a couple people in the last couple of days sign up for it. And I will be sending you some information probably today. But you'll thank yourself next week when you go to turn on the Daily Bitcoin Journey on Wednesday morning. And you'd be like, oh, I signed up. $5 a month. The best $5 you'll ever spend right there. I just put it in the chat for you. So we're going to keep doing that. It's going to be a long-term thing. It's called Proof of Work. So it's not a get rich quick scheme or a get fit quick scheme. It's all proof of work. Everything is. Just like the show today. There's no shortcuts in Bitcoin. So consider that. You'll automatically get access to the first 5 episodes of the Proof of Work course. And we're actually going to be breaking into little groups, little accountability groups in the next couple weeks. So I would suggest with all this stuff, get in sooner than later, because when we're talking about communities and stuff within Bitcoin, you always want to be there for longer, because again, within Bitcoin, being peer-to-peer, having no middleman, that means that you have to trust other people. And the only way to trust other people is with time. So there you have it. Let's see who's in here today. Ooh, look at this. Ginger, first comment of the day. Good morning, Ginger. Killer 76. Good morning, my friend. Bodie, good to see you. It's Thursday, which means Bitcoin Generations Day today. So Bodie and I will be live at what time, Bodie? 2 p.m. Eastern? Arnie's doing something out there. The Dire Wolf. Remus. Clean Your Machine, good morning. There's Arnie. Oh, he's got a sock. Hey, buddy. What you doing out there? What you doing? Well, at least he's looking over here today. He must be in a good mood. Buck 52,000. Good morning. Duncan, good to see you. Oh, what a great crew today here. Jason, good morning, Jason. Marco says, morning, Jor. Here, it's noon in Germany. That's it? I thought it'd be like 4 p.m. in Germany. I'm putting away 1 million sats. One day in the future, I will sell them to go to the masters. Goals, good masters, and Bitcoin week for y'all. Love that. Absolutely love that. That's yeah, green light on. Marco has the green light turned on. You should be thinking about that with kind of anything. Masters tickets is a perfect example of that. And I actually might do the same today. That's a really good idea. That's one of my bucket list items, is to get to the Masters one day. But yeah, I mean, that's something that you should be thinking about as a Bitcoiner, which is think of some things that you want to do in your life, like bucket list items, things that you would if you were 70 or 80 years old, and not that 70-year-olds are slowing down or anything like that, but let's say you're 120. Let's say the technology is going to allow people to live longer. You're 120 years old and you're looking back on your life. What do you think that you would regret not doing? And if you think of a couple things, whether that's going to the Masters, whether that's visiting the Great Wall of China, whatever that is, whatever you would regret not doing, write it down and then put like a million sats in each one of them. So Master trip, China trip. I don't know what else people would have as bucket list. I'm different than most people, and then you just wait. You just wait a while. Wait for those million sats to be able to purchase whatever you want to do there. I absolutely love that strategy. Bitcoin funds, the Bitcoin piggy bank. We've been talking about that kind of stuff for a while here, but it's cool when you can actually put something to it, like the Masters. It makes it more real. Marco says maybe 100K sats is enough for the Masters one day. Oh, it definitely will be one day. I just don't know how far it will be. Another frog. See, and that's the thing. Sorry, just going back to this too. When you're thinking about Masters today in fiat land, it's pretty expensive. $20,000 probably for the week to get there and to take the action in. And for a lot of people, including me, that's well out of reach. But that's in a world where they can create money out of thin air. So that's not going to be like that forever. And imagine a different scenario here where there's something like the Masters tickets available. So you have buyers and you have sellers. So the people selling the Masters tickets, as Bitcoin evolves and as Bitcoin catches on here, and there's more and more people wanting Bitcoin, just imagine how far those sats are going to go in the future because they're scarce. It's different when you have when people are after a certain item like Masters tickets in a world, in an economy that is completely abundant, full of money. So you have money being flown, flying around everywhere. $20,000, $25,000, $50,000. It's not even like a real metric anymore. But when you have an item like Masters tickets and you're on a Bitcoin standard and there's only so much Bitcoin, what do you think is going to happen there? Like, it's not going to be a million sats. It's not going to be 100,000 sats. It's going to be like 5,000 sats one day and then 500 sats one day. Because when it's much different when you think about it. It's kind of hard for me to explain here, but it's different when money's chasing an item that's scarce versus money chasing an item that is unlimited and abundant and can be created out of nothing. Those are two completely different worlds. And that's what you have to understand when you're holding Bitcoin. That's why it's going to continue to go up forever, because of that reason. Never, ever, ever in human history have we had an asset that's scarce like Bitcoin. Not even gold. Gold would probably be the closest thing, but gold's not even close to Bitcoin. All right, let's check on the Zap stream. Sorry, Zap stream. Too busy yakking here. But yes, it is the Masters week. We got Letha over in the Zap stream with the Fat Zap today. Thank you, Letha. 2,100 sats for Fat Zap Thursday. Not really, but that's what we're calling it today, just for fun. All right, another frog. Look at that. I think another frog is usually on the Zap stream, but he's there in YouTube today. Let me quickly get the share to Nostra to make sure that everybody knows that we're live for anybody interested. We are live, and it looks like Duncan sent one too. It showed up on my Nostra, but not on my sats.gg. So thank you, Duncan. Another Fat Zap, 888 sats. Okay. Let me get this phone plugged in here. I'm dead. Masters week. Okay. So It is the Masters. I'm surprised I'm doing a show today, to be completely honest with you. This is like Christmas morning for me. But anyways, I'll get to catch some action here today and all weekend. So good morning, Frank. Everything divided by 21 million. Bitcoin is still low. Keep stacking. Is it? Haven't even checked the price of Bitcoin. We had a nice little run up yesterday. Nice little run up. Hey, Rick, don't forget to smash the like. That's right. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to love. And don't forget to zap. E&E Tip Top Thursday, friends, Arnie and co-host Jor. Frank says, what does that 308 on the shield mean for the daily Bitcoin journey? Good question. What do you think it is? I'll give you a guess. What do you think the 308 on the shield means for the daily Bitcoin journey thumbnail today? First person to guess will get 88 sats. Fractal Chris, good morning, everyone. Barry says hi. I have a sneaky suspicion that that's not the real Chris. But you never know. I feel like Chris would have a profile picture. Anybody without a profile picture, I automatically assume you're a bot. So sorry, Marco. Laugh Pad's here. Good morning, Laugh Pad. We got Tom and we got Dale. Good morning, Dale. I want to give a quick shout out to Dale here. Haven't chatted with Dale lately, but I do want to give him a shout out here. Let me find this here quickly. Because Dale owns a little shop. We'll call it little, but it's beautiful in there. A little shop in Regina, Saskatchewan called QuickBit, the crypto boutique. And the Daily Bitcoin Journey has been working with them for going back to 2024. And we got a little starter kit there in case anybody's looking for some hardware. You can get some Canadian prices here. And if you use the code 88 sats there, you get 15% off of your order. I'm working with Dale, though, on a couple other things. But anyways, I just wanted to highlight the website here because he has a lot of good stuff on here, not just the Daily Bitcoin Journey starter kit, but he's got lots of stuff on here. If you go to the store, you can find books, you can find shirts, hats, hoodies, gifts, panties for Bitcoin, both for men and women. So you could get a couple pairs of boxers here for some Bitcoin and support a local Bitcoin business. And of course, the hardware wallets. You got Trezor, you got the Blockstream Jade, you got the Cold Card. Great place to shop. You support a local Bitcoiner with one of the only brick and mortar stores that I'm aware of in Canada. So make sure you check that out. I shared the link in the chat there. That's for the bundle that we have. And again, use the code 88 sats and you get 15% off of that. So I'll work hard. Oh, look at that. Dale said I turned off shipping yesterday. So free shipping on everything. There you go. Breaking news from Dale. Wow. So check it out. Check it out. You can get some good books on here. I was checking out this last week. You got Broken Money. You got The Hidden Cost of Money. You got some kids' books, it looks like. Thank God for Bitcoin. Mastering. Oh, this one's out of stock. Never mind. But yeah, some good books there. Looks like it's well stocked as well. The Tao of Bitcoin. So you should be able to, I think you can pay in Bitcoin, but if not, you can trade away some of your fiat there. So grab a couple books, grab a couple shirts, and free shipping today. It looks like. I don't know how long that's on for or if it's an actual promotion. But anyways, cryptoboutique.ca. Just type in QuickBit and you should be able to find them pretty quickly on Google. So there you go, Dale. Thank you for all the support and thanks for being a space. I think that we need more. That's why I have zero issue supporting QuickBit. I mean, obviously, I get along with Dale, but we need things like that. We need physical locations where people can go down and talk to somebody face to face, because we're dealing with serious stuff here, and especially where I'm from here, people like to talk to people face to face when they're dealing with their finances. So not only do you get free shipping, but you get great support there from Dale. If you order something and you need help with it or something's not working, you can pick up the phone and call them. And the world needs more of that. Jay, good morning, people and dog. Wow, thanks. J Dog, good day, all. Bit late, that's okay. Got master sidetracked. Me too. I was up at 6 a.m. this morning, and I spent about 2 hours getting our master's pool sorted out. So we had a record number of entrants today, which is good. Anytime you're growing, whether it's a master's pool or anything within Bitcoin, that's a good sign. So actually, the one thing I did want to say about that, let me bring this up quickly for any of the golf fans out there. Actually, any sports fans in general. I recently came across a little bit of news here that I wanted to share with you. I want to share the news, and I want to share a possible strategy for you. Not a micro strategy, but a strategy. Oh, shit. Okay, as I do that, I'll keep going down here. Marco says, why do some fiat guys like Buffett, Dave Ramsey, etc. are against Bitcoin, saying it's a scam? Do they not get the scarcity of Bitcoin, or do they just ignore it on purpose because they got rich in fiat? I think it's a combination of both. I think that, I mean, Warren Buffett, how old is he? 100 years old? He probably doesn't even use a cell phone, I'm guessing. So it's hard for somebody who spent that many years, that many decades in that system and did so well from it, kind of like you said here, because they got rich in fiat. But I also don't trust them. I guarantee that in some roundabout way, Warren Buffett has a large allocation to Bitcoin. I guarantee it. Same with Peter Schiff, same with Dave Ramsey, same with all these guys. They're full of shit. That's what they are. They're full of shit. They don't want to send a signal to the world that they're investing in Bitcoin, because that's the only way that they can't control Bitcoin. They can't stop Bitcoin. But the only thing that they can do is try to resist it and scare people away from it for as long as possible. That's their whole goal. They've been doing it for 16 years straight. They get it. I mean, I don't know. I can't really speak for Warren Buffett. I'm pretty sure he would have if he spent 5 minutes based on his knowledge of investing in scarcity and stuff like that and technology, I'm pretty sure they would get it. If they don't, but I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure they're just full of shit. That's my take. Daddy-O, I just live over an hour away from Augusta National. Never been. Tough ticket to get. Yeah, it is. I've been trying for a lot of years to get a master's ticket. Because you have to get drawn, right? Watch the honorary starters earlier. Jack looks bad. Yeah. Jack's getting old. Jack's getting old. I don't know how old he would be, but he's not doing well. I would agree with that. Jay says, Marco, not everyone can pass the ego test. Don't get me started on the IQ test. Also true. Ego would be a big thing, especially for guys like Peter Schiff, who have spent their entire life in precious metals and don't want to admit that they're wrong. That's a big one, right? Like Peter Schiff's livelihood, his income, everything relies on people buying gold and listening to his advice. So it doesn't make sense for him to go out and say, you know what, I was wrong about gold. We're going into Bitcoin now, especially how long he's been bashing it. Like not only against it and saying that he's not holding it, he's been actively against Bitcoin for a lot of years now. So to get over that, to change your mind with that size of audience, takes a lot, and he hasn't done it. Albin, good morning, good evening, and good night. Met Rory McIlroy one time. 308 number of shows. Yes, that is correct. The first guest, $1.52. So $1.52. Put your we'll harness a little bit of Jerry Loves Freedom today. put your speed wallet, or at least the first, like your username. You don't have to put @speed.app. Just put your username to speed or strike, whatever you use there. Just let me know, and I'll send over some sats. Okay, so Jason says, Dale, are you headed to Las Vegas? Dale says, yes, I am. All right, we're gonna have some fun in Vegas. I gotta get some shit together there, but I'm definitely going. I'm fully committed. Tom says, I believe that the mysterious origin scares a lot of financial experts away. They see it as too uncertain, and that uncertainty carries unknown and unquantifiable risk to them. That's true also. That's a great point. So I kind of look at this in two different ways here. And before I get any further here, I want to give a very big shout out to Josh Owa. And he said, Arn, sorry I'm late. It's some liberal's fault, perhaps the Carnster. That's okay, Josh. We're still here. We'll probably be here for a while today. Although, no, we won't be. I got Masters to watch today and a million fucking things to do. But anyways, our favorite number, 8,888 sats. And I also wanted to give another shout out here. There's going to be lots of, we might be bouncing all over the place today. That's what happens when I'm in the Masters mood and good moods like this. We might be bouncing around, but that's okay. I think that's why a lot of people watch this show, is because you never know what I'm going to say next, which works for me and against me just as much, I think. But a big shout out here. I had a really good chat with somebody last week. They signed up for one of my value for value sessions on Calendly, and it's not limited to anything. And I want to first say that. Okay, I got to write some stuff down here because I'm going to forget what I was talking about. I was talking about what? The experts. Sorry, this is what happens when you have a scrambly brain like mine. But anyways, I was having a really good chat with this guy, and he might be watching the show today. He said he watches the show all the time, but he was in the U.S. and he was a former U.S. Navy, I believe, and he was actually looking for some advice on orange pilling his board of directors that he sits on for this foundation for veterans that suffer with PTSD. So reached out to me. He was asking some questions about Superbacked, about some other wallets, and then he asked me, how should he approach that? How should he get the board of directors that he sits on to start storing some of their reserves in Bitcoin? And so I gave him some advice because he has some older folks on there. I think the CEO is like 70 years old. And so I said, compare it to real estate and show the prices of real estate in dollars and then prices in real estate in Bitcoin over the last 10 years. And it gives a very clear picture of where this thing is going to based on the trend. One's going up in price and one's going down in price. But anyways, one of the guys that sits on the board of directors with him is one of my favorite people. And I don't want to give away too much information because I don't want to dox him. But one of the guys that I respect most in life, based on what I've seen, kind of like I don't know if you'd call him an influencer, but I have his book. I watch a lot of his podcasts and stuff. And he sits on the board of directors with this guy on this. And if you know anything about who I like and who I listen to and connect that with the Navy, you might be able to figure it out yourself. But that was pretty cool. So anyways, he after the meeting, he sent me our favorite number here for the time, which was 88,000 sats. So I love doing those. I've been doing quite a few of them, and it varies really how much people send. But I thought that was pretty cool based on the chat that we had. That was the amount that he sent over for my time. And that's just a message, I guess, for anybody out there who's looking for any sort of advice, something like that, whether it's on your security, you just want a second opinion on something, you can set up a quick call with me for half an hour. And there's no upfront charge. You can just send me whatever amount you want in return. So if there's a burning question, if there's something that keeps you up at night, if there's anything like that, you can just set up a quick call, chat with me, and then send me whatever you feel that it was worth, the value for value option. So you can find that on the on my website, bitcoinjourney.ca. I'll actually I'll share a link here for everybody too in the chat. We got lots of links today. I gotta meet. Okay. Event types. I'll share the exact value for value one. Share. There we go. So there it is. Bitcoin journey / value for value. Okay. Duncan says 308 show. Yes, you are correct, Duncan, but unfortunately you were about a minute late there. Parker, good morning. Hey, look who just showed up. Don't start squeaking that. Don't start squeaking that, Arnie. Late thanks to Carney's broken promises. Oh, man. We got lots going on today. That's okay. Anyways, Zapstream, I just want to let you know that I haven't forgot about you here. I see you and other froggies over there as well. And look at this. We got Steven. Says, hi, Jor. Haven't made a live stream in some time. Great shows of late. Thank you. Happy Thursday. Sent a zap. Back on track. Shane Lowry for the win. Steven, you should have got in on our Masters pool. We did a Masters Sats pool this year. And we had, last year we had 13 people, I think, in it. And this year we had 25. So we doubled our entrance this year. So whoever wins the Masters pool this year is going to win some life-changing Sats. We only did 15,000. We probably should have made it more. But anyways, Dale, living the dream. Nice shop. Yes, no doubt, living the dream. Imagine you get to talk to people about Bitcoin all day. I'd call that living the dream. Bit Billy, Johor, everybody. Hey. Good morning, Bit Billy. Good to see you in here, man. Jason says Corey Connors got a shot. Oh, probably. Connors is a stud. Connors is an absolute stud. What's going on here? Okay, sorry, I'm all over the place. You'll have to forgive me today. Sabian says a belief system built on lies relies on the believer in the lying liars. Lies to survive. Wow. Little poem there from Sabian. Okay. Marco says, good to have guys that think the same in that way. Not so often in my area, non-Bitcoiners. Well, here's what I would say to that. You might not know. You might not know. There might be a lot of people in your area and you just don't know them. So it takes a little work. You got to do a little proof of work and find those people. Maybe that means starting your own Bitcoin meetup in your local area and seeing who shows up for it. Anyways, I don't know. I just want to double check here before I move on. Hold on. Because we got a couple zaps here that I missed. And I see Steven said that he's sent a zap, but I didn't see it anywhere, Steven. So I just want to make sure that we got it. Oh, there we go. Hold on. We got a couple here. So we got Letha's. We got Duncan's. We got 121 sats here. And it looks like it was from Zapstream. It didn't show up, though. It says, if Trump was trying to scare people out of the equities markets and into the safe bonds, it's not working. Was this his goal or is something else at play? That's a good question. So if Trump was trying to scare people out of the equities market and into the safe bond markets, it's not working. Was this the goal or something else at play? I don't think that his goal is to try to scare people out of equities. I don't think he's trying to push people into the bonds either. I think that number one, and most importantly, Trump is causing chaos. Trump is causing a lot of volatility. And I think that one of his main goals in this whole thing is to get US Treasury rates down. And don't look at this thing day to day. Look at this thing over the next couple months, because the US has, I think, $6 trillion worth of debt that is coming up to renew. So they want that to renew at a much lower rate, obviously, to save the country interest payments. But at the same time, there's a lot of things happening in that whole scene right now. One of the things is that he also wants the Fed to start, well, to lower rates for one, but he also wants the Fed to print more money. And I think that the volatility, I think all the uncertainty is going to lead to some money printing here. But the other part too is that Trump actually put in a request to the Supreme Court yesterday, I saw, to fire Jerome Powell. So I think that that's just a tactic. I don't think that anything will come of that. I don't think that they have the ability to do that. I hope they don't anyways. That wouldn't be a good thing. But I think that Trump is just trying to move slowly away from the Federal Reserve. That's kind of like the overall thing that's happening right here. He's trying to do some things short term. He's creating a lot of chaos and volatility. But I think over the big picture here is that Trump is trying to separate himself from the Federal Reserve and put more into the Treasury than the Federal Reserve. He wants the responsibility to be on the US Treasury for a lot of the things that the Fed does right now. So that's kind of my take on it, I guess you'd say. I don't know if I missed anything there or not, but that's what I see happening right now. And he seems to be doing a pretty good job of it. And thank you for the zap. The next one here looks like somebody zapped a coffee. 3,708 sats. I'm thinking that was a coffee anyways. Seems like that kind of number. And I'm sure I'll see it in a comment here in a sec. But anyways, thank you for that. Tom says, watching the analog Bitcoin blockchain of the miners, merchants, and hodlers grow is awe-inspiring. Channels like this and Maple Bitcoin are the nodes. It is really inspiring. Well, thank you, Tom. Cheers, buddy. That is absolutely true. And that's one of the things I've been talking about here on the channel is that everybody here is on Team Bitcoin. That's what Sailor says. Everybody's on Team Bitcoin. But I think to take that further, you have to ask yourself what role you're playing on that team. Are you sitting on the bench? I would say that somebody who's buying Bitcoin and holding on to it without doing anything or talking about Bitcoin or supporting Bitcoin development, I would say that you're sitting on the bench. That's not where you want to be. Because just like somebody who's sitting on the bench, you're still getting paid, but you're not doing anything. And that's a pretty shitty feeling. And some people are okay with that. But there's also, on every team, there's positions. There's the centerman, there's wingers, there's the D-man, there's the goalie, there's the coach, there's the GM, there's the owner, there's the fans in the stands, there's the janitor in the arena. All those different people play a role on that team. So you have to ask yourself, what role are you playing? Are you an advocate for Bitcoin? Do you have a channel? Do you have a podcast? Do you have a blog talking about Bitcoin? Are you a supporter of Bitcoin? Have you been supporting open source development, the Bitcoin developers, channels who are talking about Bitcoin in the right way? Are you a connector? Do you have a business like Dale does? Or do you do meetups in your local area? You have to ask yourself what role you're playing. And if it's an inactive one, you're sitting on the bench and you're not helping this thing. So that would be my challenge to everybody today is ask yourself what role you're playing on this team. Okay, we got Buck. Hold on here. Buck 50, 2000. Buck 50 must have been gone. That sucks. Is that speed? Hopefully. Speed.app. Okay, we'll send 88 sats. Sent. Okay, and I see another zap here. It says 1100 sats. Call me. I have a big idea for you. That's the kind of messages that I like. Call me. I have a big idea for you. Okay, well, that's great, but I don't know who I'm calling. Hopefully I'll find I'll find out later here in the chat. Okay. Hey, Laugh Pads over in Zapstream. More than Laugh Pad. I think Laugh Pad's in both today. Look at that. Love that. Okay. How the hell are we 35 minutes into this thing? I haven't even talked about anything yet. Sorry, everybody. This happens sometimes on the show. But this is the last kind of shout out and sidetrack we're going to do today. But this is a good one. This is a good one. So I recently discovered here that my brother's a big gambler. Not, I wouldn't say it's a problem. It probably has been in the past at some point. I mean, it's hard to gamble responsibly. I know that feeling too. I've gone through the same thing. But my brother is he loves sports. He loves track and sports. He likes having some stuff on the line. So, anyways, he recently told me that a company called Bodog, they're a gambling website, like a sports betting casino online, Bodog. I found out that they now accept Bitcoin. So you can deposit Bitcoin and gamble with that. And it works. I tried it this morning for the Masters. I wanted to put some money, some side bets. And so I sent in, I think it was 100,000 sats. And anyways, because I used his link, I got double the bonus. So I got 100% of my deposit. I think it's up to $400. So this is a pretty big deal, I think, for anybody who's watching the Masters or likes a certain sport that they want to gamble on. So if this works, if you're in, I know it'll work in Canada for everybody, but I'm pretty sure Bodog would be available in the US too. So I'm going to share my link. If you want to sign up for an account, you're going to get that welcome bonus of 100% of your deposit. I'm not sponsored by Bodog here, but I just see it as a really a no-brainer essentially. So kind of my plan here, this is my plan for the weekend. And this is not, I don't recommend you do this. This is just what I'm doing. So let's say I deposited $100 worth of Bitcoin. I get $100 free for my sign up bonus. So I'm going to gamble with my $100. I'm going to pick a few players, cheer them on. And then with my bonus, I'm going to wait until Sunday until it's pretty clear who's going to win. And I'm going to throw it on that. And then I can withdraw it. I can withdraw the Bitcoin that I deposited, basically like my bonus there. It'll be, so my odds won't be big. I'll probably win like $5 on it or $2 or something. But the point is it'll be withdrawable and I'll be able to take back my Bitcoin that I deposited there. So I'll share my link there for you. You can try that strategy if you want to. If you want to throw a little bit of money on the Masters, or if if you're into other sports, you can do the same kind of thing where you deposit an amount, you gamble with that, you get your bonus, you bet a no-brainer, like a pretty much a sure bet, and then you get your Bitcoin back. But again, I've gone through this myself where I've picked things that I thought was a sure bet and I lost. So don't think that this is like 100% foolproof strategy. Things can go wrong in sports. That's why there's odds. But for the most part, if you find a bet that's like 1.05, which is paying like $5 on a $100 bet, then you can just get your Bitcoin back that you deposited. So nice little sign up bonus there. Jay says I may or may not be banned from Bodog. So you can deposit Bitcoin and you can also withdraw Bitcoin if you end up winning anything. So I wanted to share that with everybody today. I shared that link in the chat, and I'll also put that in the show notes today. So if you're watching this later or a replay of the show, you'll be able to find that. I'll put it right at the top for you there. Sounds too good to be true, and most things when you think that, they usually are. But I don't know. Worst case, and again, you can do that up to $400. So I didn't know that. I just deposited $100. They gave me $100 back to bet with, but it said that you can do it up to $400. So there it is in the chat. Try it out and let me know how she goes. Let me know if you won. I summoned Satoshi. Joe, good morning. What's good? Everything's good today, man. Holy moly. Don't know what that's about. DS Flat says, Hey, Jor, Sat chats on YouTube are offering Sats to the first subs and also to guests on their new show. Nice guys, great content. Yeah, that's smart. That's I see that as the future. Whether we're talking about incentives, ads, everything like that, people will be wanting to be paid in Sats for anything in the future, I think. And the people who understand that and are able to, that's how I see Bitcoin. I don't see Bitcoin as I'm going to buy it and hold on to it forever. Probably like 90% of my Bitcoin will never move while I'm alive. But I'm planning on using like 5-10% of it for future leverage like this, where you can pay people. I don't know how I feel about paying people to subscribe to your channel, but listen, it's not up to me. But paying people to promote your product, paying people in Sats to, I don't know, watch an ad of yours, stuff like that. Absolutely the future. Important. Do you pause in Bitcoin Snake? I don't think that's that important. But no, I just let it run into the wall. I'm not hardcore enough to be able to come back and play it after. Plus, I'll just run into the wall when I restart the game. Carney was in Calgary yesterday. My bro-in-law had a face-to-face meeting with him. Ugh, yuck. What an absolute piece of shit scumbag. Sorry. Tell us how you really feel, Jor. Yeah, 21 million. This is a shirt from Juxtapose, one of my favorite shirts. 21 million with a ghost on it. Is there a ghost? Yeah, can't really see it though. Great shirt. Juxtapose.com, I believe, is the link. And I think if you use 88 sats in that one, you'll get a discount as well. I think. That makes so much sense. I'm not sure what, sorry, that's the problem when I get too far behind, is I miss comments. But anyways, let's keep it rolling here. I see a couple zaps came in. Well, I was yapping there. We got a couple 888 sat zaps. One from LaughPad, one from Daniel. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate that. And Bodie's in the chat. Oh, Bodie says, Bodog says we don't currently offer services in your area in the US. And then said disregard. So maybe you got it to work? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Bodog's available everywhere, but it is available for sure here in Canada. Joe says, I feel like Trump is trying to make China go into a desperation and turn everyone else on them. Yeah, that's I absolutely love what he's doing with China. I do. Not only him, but his whole administration is the thing that I've noticed about Trump's administration, more so than anybody else that I've seen before, is they all seem to be very aligned. They're all talking about the same. And to me, it's different. It's different than like the liberal media or the liberals in the media here, where they're like just have certain talking points and they basically just fucking parrot everything, like literally copy and paste. With the Democrats, with the liberals, they get their marching orders sent to them, and then they just copy and paste it. And they say the exact same words. They use the exact same buzzwords and phrases and all that bullshit. But it seems like with Trump, they're all aligned. They're all moving in the same direction. They say it differently. They have different perspectives, but they're all in alignment there. And that is so important whenever you have a team like that. It's so important that everybody's aligned. And that's basically what they've been saying, is that China has been, I should find that. Post. We might as well. It feels like it's going to be one of those shows today. It usually happens on Fridays, but let's just do it today instead. It was Kevin O'Leary actually that was talking about this. And this is kind of the same message from Trump's team. So let me find this here quickly. I think I shared it yesterday. Okay, I'll keep going here. Vinny says, do you use Passport Foundation? Isn't it slightly better than the Blockstream Jade? I don't know if it's better. They're both kind of unique. They both have different features. They're both air gapped. I don't really have a preference, Passport or Jade. I like Cold Card better than both of those. But yeah, they are very similar. Hey, Cleaner Machine with the coffee today. Thank you, my friend. Cleaner Machine, bottoms up. Cheers. Okay, where is this? So I don't know if everybody here was watching the show last week, but anyways, I discovered that Josh, one of the bigger names in Bitcoin now, after his 84K prediction there, I realized that he's following my Twitter account. He follows less than 1,000 people, but he's following Bitcoin Jor on there. And I said, that's cool, but I have no idea why he would be following my Twitter account, because mostly what I use my Twitter account for is to shit on the liberals here. So maybe he hates liberals, or I have no idea. But anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. Dibson says, I was inspired by you and the Maple Boys to put my Speed Wallet as a QR code on my channel. I think it's such a neat way of getting tips versus PayPal. 100%. 100%. So you said here that, ooh, there's a big one. That was a fat zap that just arrived. But yeah, getting tips versus PayPal. So there's a couple different things there. Number one is that if you compare it to PayPal or any sort of other way to tip somebody online, because YouTube doesn't pay the bills. I know I've said that before, but like YouTube, the AdSense revenue, unless you like specifically try to earn AdSense revenue and try to game YouTube, it doesn't pay the bills. You might get like you might get a couple cases of beer from it after the taxes and after the fees and after all that stuff. So tipping here is a good way to support the channel. Or the other option would be to take on ad money, which I don't want to do. So if you compare this QR code here to PayPal, number one is that with PayPal, nobody could send me what's a zap today that came in? 121 sats, which to me is meaningful. But in terms of dollars, that's 10 cents. So you can't send 10 cents to somebody online anywhere. The traditional financial system does not allow for that. So you can send somebody a small amount. You can also send that without anybody's permission. You don't need to ask PayPal if you can send it. You don't have to worry about PayPal reading your tweets or looking at your PayPal or whatever it is. You don't need anybody's permission there. As long as you have an internet connection and a Lightning wallet, you can send value to somebody else anywhere on the planet. So that's number two. And number three is, yes, the fees. PayPal would charge a fee. Patreon takes a fee. YouTube takes a fee. Everybody takes a fee. This has no fees. And number four is that you don't have to put in your credit card information. If you want to send value to somebody online, you don't have to put in your name. You don't have to put in your address. You don't have to connect your phone. You don't have to put in your credit card information. None of that. You can do it all permissionlessly, instantaneously, with zero fees, and it just makes sense. And somebody made the point that probably this platform is going to stop allowing people to do that because they don't get a cut of it. So we'll do it as long as we can here. But yeah, it just makes so much sense. So it would be hard, I think, for some platform like this. I don't want to mention their name because they, might catch on. But it would be hard for them to stop, but I'm sure that they'll find a way. Marco. Oh, man. We got too much going on today. Too much going on, but I love it. Philosophical question. My favorites. Anyways, before we get to that, though, we got to support we got to give a shout out to the supporters of the show here. So somebody said, Letha said, "Gotta run. Have a great day, guys." See you, Letha. Thank you for coming by, and thank you for the zap. We'll talk to you later, I'm sure. The 15,000 sats somebody sent in anonymously, and they left a comment saying, "Suck on these Chinese nuts." That's the kind of shit I'm here for. Absolutely. Okay, so anyways, importantly here, somebody sent me 1,100 sats and said, "Call me. I have a big idea for you, but I don't know who I'm supposed to call." So I'm hoping somebody, if you're not in the chat here, reach out to me and message me, because I don't know who I'm supposed to call. 27 likes, 53 viewers, 65 now. Come on, everyone. It's just a button. Click it. That's a great point. It's a great point. If you don't have the financial means to support Bitcoin and Bitcoiners, then at least do things like that. Bitcoin Buddha. Morning, buddy. Passport dope to use. Agreed. Proof of work is everything. I'm the only bet I'm on is Bitcoin. Rajat, probably. I love Rajat. Rajat's he's such a good sport with everything. I don't know. There's something about him that I just love. He's a very intelligent guy, very easygoing. And I don't know. He's just one of those guys that gets it, that I get along really well with, both him and Forrest. And I think that comes out in the Maple Bitcoin show. Oh, Dale. Here we go. Okay, so Dale said, "Call me. I got a very big idea." Okay, gotcha. Light bulb idea. I'm not as dumb as I look. What a wild time to be alive and in Bitcoin. Cheers, everybody. Amen to that, Nick. Trump's whole cabinet is a team, strong team. And I saw that whoever got nominated or voted into, what was it yesterday? It was a Bitcoiner, though. Something happened there. I forget what it was, but it was a Bitcoiner. Somebody might have to tell me in the chat what happened there. China and Russia are settling in Bitcoin. Yeah, 100%. Everybody's going to be settling in Bitcoin. That's what layer one's going to be used for. Payback for the flu season that derailed his re-election. True. Hey, Melanie. Hi, everyone. Hi, Melanie. Good morning. Q is the best. Tons of other features. Yes, I agree. The fee, five, fo, fum, fee. All right. Yes, that's what it was. New SEC chair, Bitcoiner. Okay, let's watch this video here from talking about China. China. Okay, ready? The tweet here, oh shit, said this is the hardest shit I've heard in 10 years of MAGA. And I agree with this.
I do business in China.
The absolute truth. Actually, I've kind of had my ups and downs with Kevin O'Leary. Used to love him as a dragon and a shark, but first as a dragon on Dragon's Den. I thought he was just hilarious. Him and Trump are very similar in the sense that they say exactly what's on their mind. But then he got into some shitcoining stuff. He was promoting like FTX and stuff, so I kind of lost a lot of respect for him there. But I think he's back. And he said some really good things about the Canadian government. He's starting a big AI data center and I think Bitcoin mining center in Alberta, helping fund that. I'm pretty sure, anyways. And he's saying things like this.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second,
tariffs.
Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
Short-lived. There will be.
But what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive.
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
So a couple things there. I mean, I agree with him. And, you know, the one I'd say a couple different things on both sides here. He said that China steals a lot of IP stuff. And yes, that's a problem. But the other side, the other thing I'd say there is that we're moving into a world, I believe, where none of that's going to matter. None of that's going to matter. IP, patents, trademarks, all that kind of stuff. That's a very centralized world where somebody can create something and then live off that forever. And I don't agree with that myself. So I see both sides of it. I don't think that, how can I say this? The first part is that I do agree that everybody should be on the same playing field. That's the difference there. Either you enforce it everywhere or you don't. You can't have some countries who have to abide by the rules and some countries who don't have to abide by the rules, but they're still all playing in the same court. That doesn't make any sense. That's why I love Bitcoin so much, because Bitcoin, in a very chaotic world, Bitcoin is the level playing field for everybody. People, it's voluntary. You can get as much as you want of it. You can ignore it as long as you want. It's the same for everybody on the planet. It levels the playing field there. And I think that that's important because we're moving away from the globalization here. I think that that's one of the main themes within the Trump administration that we're seeing, is that he's trying to put an end to globalization. And he's trying to bring back nationalization, where countries are creating their own products and selling it to their own citizens. And if they need to bring something in, they have to pay for it. So that incentivizes companies to start making products locally, which I 100% agree with. Because, and the reason I said, I have a lot of reasons, but there's a lot of really bad things that happen in some of these countries, including China. Like slave labor, cheap labor. I know here in the West that we're like, oh yeah, that's how it's always been. That's why, that's just how it is. No, that's not how it is. And the only reason that, we've seen inflation go up like 10% a year or more for the last decade. And the only reason they're able to keep it even that, I wouldn't say low, but at that rate, is because we're importing slave labor. When you get a shirt, this shirt, let's say it costs $30. The input on that shirt would be the material, the labor, the design of it, the shipping costs, shipping the materials around. There's a lot of costs that go into this. And the only reason that they're able to keep those costs down is because of the slave labor. That's not a good thing. And so we have the ability now with robots, with AI, with 3D printing, where we're going to be able to create all this stuff locally here. That's the world that we're moving into, decentralized world. And Trump's kind of leading the charge in this. We're getting away from globalization. It's all going to be nationalized, which is good for any countries who are able to. I think it's going to have a net impact for pretty much any country out there. There's going to be no more exploitation by the US towards other governments. And that's the part that a lot of people miss. The US exports their inflation to other countries. People take their dollars in exchange for products. That's been happening for decades, where the US sends, he said that they're about 40% of the overall consumers of the world, just in the US. So they send their fake dollars around the world, and these countries send them real products that take real material, real labor to create. That doesn't make any sense. And that's why everything's so broken. So if you move back to a world where everybody's producing things in their own country, the costs might go up in fiat terms. They're going to keep going down in Bitcoin terms. That's the difference between an unlimited asset or a currency and a scarce currency. That's what's going to play out here. But it's going to be rocky. There's going to be lots of volatility. There's going to be lots of this stuff going on in the meantime as globalization goes away. So that tariff there that he's putting on China, I think it's 104%. That's going to cost Americans more to bring in Chinese products, which is going to incentivize American companies to start making products in America. That's what Trump wants. Yeah, exactly. Joe says Air Force Ones by Nike cost 15 cents to make. Like how does that make any sense? And they sell them for $180. How does that make any sort of sense? Right? So the 15 cents there, this is how I want you to picture it. Those Air Force Ones, let's just say that it costs 15 cents. Can't verify that here, but we'll trust Joe. 15 cents to make them. So that pair of sneakers has materials, it has labor to make those, it has the shipping and the cost to put all those materials in the same place. How could you put that into 15 cents? So they send us a real product that they created there, and we send them fake dollars for that. That doesn't make any sort of sense in any world. So we're getting away from that, which is good, in my opinion. 125%, even better. There's absolutely no way they cost 15 cents to make, not a chance, raw materials, etc. Not verified here, but I trust Joe. So could be off. Well, let's say it's $15 even. Let's just go very conservative here, and let's say that's $15 even. How could you make a sneaker for $15 with the materials, with the labor, with all that stuff involved in it? There's just no way. So America's been exporting their inflation and trading their fake dollars for very cheap products for way too long, and it's caused just the worst kind of financial system. It's just, the whole thing's a joke. That's why we're here. That's why we're in Bitcoin. We don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, let's move on to something else here. Oh, somebody sent in 880 sats. I don't know who that was. Anonymous zap of 880 sats, actually to ARNIE'S wallet over here. So thank you for that. Oh, here's a good question. Bodhi says China and Russia are working together to bring a new gold-backed currency, part of a bigger BRIC strategy. How is that thwarted or not with current U.S. strategy? So the only thing that would happen there, Bodhi, is that if the BRICS decide that they want to back their gold or back their currency with gold, what do you think the best play there would be for the U.S., who's the competing currency to that? I think the best strategy there, if you really wanted to screw the BRICS nations over and say, hey now, you would start dumping gold. Because if the US started dumping gold, that would send a huge signal to the world that maybe this isn't what we thought it was. And what do you think the other countries are going to do there? Do you think that they're going to double down and buy up that gold? Probably not, especially when the US government sells that gold to buy Bitcoin. So the US would sell its gold or its certificates anyways. They would buy Bitcoin with it. That would be a way to obtain their goal of Bitcoin without an additional cost to the taxpayer. That new supply of gold being dumped onto the market, which would cause prices to drop in gold because there's lots of supply, either the same amount or less demand than there was before. So the price of gold would drop significantly. Bitcoin would shoot up because the US government is a massive signal, a massive influence in the world. So the US would win that significantly. And so when the BRICS nations is backing their currency with gold, the value of their currency then inherently would go down. There's so much at play right now. It's just such a crazy time to be alive right now. That's why I said on yesterday's proof of work show, everybody should be journaling in some form in this time in history. You're going to want to look back and see what was going on, how you interpreted it. I just think it's so cool. So not only for, the memories, but just, I think that journaling as a habit every day is a good thing. So anyways, here's the question. Hypothetically, if you own 30 Bitcoin, how would you hodl? One wallet with 30 Bitcoin or 3 wallets with 10 Bitcoin each? I mean, 30 wallets seems like a lot to have to manage. This is probably what I would do here. I would probably take that 30 Bitcoin. I would create a new wallet, a multi-sig wallet with super backed. Take a bunch of your time, a bunch of your money, figure out the best possible way to secure that Bitcoin, the best, nothing else, the best possible way to do it, which in my opinion is super backed. So you get that set up, you send 25 Bitcoin to that one. And that's one that you never touch. You never think about it. You restore it, you go through the process often, but you never touch that Bitcoin. And then maybe you have a secondary wallet, the secondary multi-sig with like 4 Bitcoin in it. Same kind of thing. You might not need super back, but you're probably already familiar with the process, so you might decide to do that. And then the last Bitcoin there, so that's 29 Bitcoin looked after. The last Bitcoin, I would just spread out. That's what I would, put some in a Lightning wallet, put some in a Aqua wallet. You kind of use that as just spending money. I mean, if you got 30 Bitcoin, you got to be spending some of that, in my opinion. Not that I'm telling you what to do, but you could have a lot of fun with that. With that one Bitcoin, you could do a lot with that. Something like that. Something like that. And maybe take the 4 Bitcoin and split that up even further. Maybe do another Bitcoin, and maybe you use that 3 Bitcoin. Maybe that's like your 3 Bitcoin UTXO that you'll actually be willing to loan against in the future. So you don't expose your whole stack to the bank. So you have like a 2 or 3 Bitcoin UTXO. That's what you use for lending in the future. And then you could pretty much live off of that. I mean, 30 Bitcoin though, that's, if you got 30 Bitcoin right now, you're sitting pretty. Let's just say that at a bare minimum. Paul Atkins, SEC. I would also say that if you had 1 Bitcoin, you're sitting pretty, but it's not as pretty because you're going to have to hang on to that for longer. With 30 Bitcoin, you could start living today. Joe says 30 Bitcoin, 5 wallets, 2 multi-sig. Yes, something like that. I would take the majority of it though and put it into like a really bulletproof, secure multi-sig wallet, and then just kind of have some fun. Do you think with more hodling, increased hash rates, and much lower fees due to hodling forever, that miners will be forced to leave the business? No. But I do see a world where the miners will be much less centralized. There's not going to be like 20 companies that mine Bitcoin. There's going to be like 20,000 companies. And probably every person on the planet will be mining Bitcoin in one form or another. And that's why I don't invest in Bitcoin miners. A, it's a really hard business, very competitive, very hard to manage the swings. But B, because I think that mining is going to be so decentralized in the future that even the miners today aren't going to have much of an impact in the future. The guy with the red watch strap, is that Kevin? Yeah, it looks like it. What does that mean? Is that a bad thing? Rock Creations, good morning. Santino, one of our Bitcoin journeymen. Good morning. There's absolutely no way. Yeah, okay. I don't know about that either, but we're going with it. Van Dingo. Good morning. Jordy, you think that since there are such low fees to move coin nowadays, increased? Oh, I already answered that one. Bye, guys. Bye, Melanie. Thanks for, you're probably gone, but thanks for coming by today. Of course, the U.S. companies Nike won't admit to using slave labor to make shoes. The lies people are told. Yeah, it's the same with any product over there, right? This thing. Same thing. A lot of exploitation. Super backed with Jor is a smart idea for anyone holding Bitcoin. Yeah, any amount. Any amount. Duncan, I don't know if they dox their stack. That might have just been a hypothetical, but yeah. First rule in Bitcoin, don't tell anybody how much Bitcoin you have. Super backed is the best security. Oh, Joe doxed himself. There you go. Jor has at least 10 Bitcoin. Oh my God. I hope that my goal is to get 10 Bitcoin. And it's going to be impossible, I think, but that's my goal. And I've said it numerous times on the show, and I don't give a shit if you don't believe me, but I'm still, and I will, I'll 100% get there. Maybe not to 10, but to 1 Bitcoin. You got to remember that I had, and I know this is a bot, so I don't know why I'm paying any attention to it, but I got into this in 2020 when the price was like $50,000. So I never had the opportunity to buy for very cheap at any point. I think the lowest I bought Bitcoin was like 16,000 in 2022. So when you're paying that and you don't have, I was 30 years old at the time. So nobody has a whole lot to dump into to Bitcoin there. Dogbone, what is that, Jay? Did you send Arnie a zap or something? Don't know. Give a dog a bone. Okay. What else did I want to talk about? Well, the freaking show was called There Are No Shortcuts in Bitcoin. Forgot about that. What can we do here? Yeah, let's talk about that. Now that we're kind of on the topic here, 30 Bitcoin is just hypothetical. There you go. I shared a video this morning, and thought I would do it in a little test, but it doesn't seem to be doing very well. I thought I'd share it right before the show just to see who's up and at 'em. But it looks like it failed. My experiment failed. I guess it didn't fail. I got the info that I needed. But okay, I want to share a comment here actually. What video was that on? It was a comment, and something that we should all be kind of thinking about, I think, in my opinion anyways. Where is this here? Oh, we got I posted that video about Satoshi being a time traveler, and somebody said, "Do you own a unicorn you ride around on too?" Where was that comment that I wanted to share here? Too much spam in here. Too many bots. Where was it? Hold on, I'll find it. YouTube's been pretty buggy for me lately. Fuck, I don't know where it was now. There's something about the government taking over Bitcoin. Oh, I think it's on this one. Sorry, folks. Maybe not. Well, shit. I want to find the comment here so I can bring it up. Oh, you know, when things don't work out, whoa. 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 Well, we got our second ever as I absolutely struggle through this. Oh man, sorry. Like this is what it shows me. I can't see comments on YouTube anymore. Anyways, I know what the comment was, so I'll just talk about it here. But before we do that, we got our second ever iconic zap here on the channel today. So 88,888 sats. Said zap, let's get Jor to a whole coin. Still trying to figure this out. Well, you know, shit like that's definitely going to move it along a lot faster. So I don't know who that was from. It says it was from Zapstream, so I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. But anyways, whoever that was from, thank you. That's only the second ever iconic zap, the 88,888 sat zap in show history. It's a big one. That is a big one. Anyways, this is what I was going to talk about today. So the comment I received on YouTube yesterday was that at some point, the government is going to come to everybody's house and confiscate their Bitcoin. Just like they did back in, what was it, 1931 with people's gold that they had in their homes. They had an executive order. Somebody in the comments might have to remind me what order that was. I think it was 6102. That sounds right. Executive Order 6102, where they actually started confiscating people's gold and made it illegal, I believe, to hold gold as a store of value. So somebody said that the government's Bitcoin is going to become so valuable that the governments in 10 years from now are going to do the same thing. And my immediate answer to that was they can't do that with Bitcoin. They did it with gold. They can't do it with Bitcoin though. And I think that that's the main difference between gold and Bitcoin, other than the fact that you can send Bitcoin to anybody on earth with an internet connection for almost zero fees. Other than the fact that you don't need to trust anybody. If your currency is backed by gold, you need to make sure that the gold's actually there. So you have to trust somebody to hold that gold and to trust that that gold is indeed legitimate. So there are a lot of reasons why gold is better. Plus, you can't buy a coffee with a gold coin. You're not going to sit there and shave it off and pay for a $2 coffee. You can pay in Bitcoin though, contrary to popular belief with Lightning, Liquid, eCash. Very easy to do. But the other point there is that Bitcoin is the only asset that you can truly own. Right. And Saylor calls it ethical capital. And the reason he calls it ethical capital, because it's the only asset in which you can truly own. And you might say, well, yeah, Jor, I have a gold coin sitting at my house in my basement, in my safe. I own that. I don't owe anybody anything for it. Nobody knows that I have it. And it's mine. I can take self-custody of that gold. And that's true. But the difference there is that with gold, it's only your gold until somebody more powerful comes around and decides that it's no longer your gold. Whether they have a bigger gun, a full army, government, whatever that is, that's your gold until somebody more powerful than you decides that they want that gold from you. And with Bitcoin, that's not the case. You can actually take full custody of your Bitcoin and you can store your words either in your head, which I do not recommend, but you can. Or you can set it up in a way where you don't have to have any sort of trace of Bitcoin in your house. using encryption, using super-backed, using a multi-sig. There are ways to do that exist today. So that's one. Somebody comes to your house, ask you for your Bitcoin. You could have it set up in a way where there's nothing that they could do for that to get your Bitcoin. Nothing. They could hold you at gunpoint. They could torture you. They could blow up your house. They're not going to get your Bitcoin. And that totally changes the whole game. That changes the incentives. Because if they can't get your Bitcoin, there's no incentive to kill you. Very powerful. But kind of what I thought about afterwards, after thinking about that, I thought with Bitcoin though, the percentage of people who are actually going to do that is very low. Like less than 0.01%, I would say, especially at that point. Because you have to assume in 10 years from now, everybody's going to have some Bitcoin. Everybody's going to be storing it in different ways, but there's only going to be like 0.01% of people who actually go through that trouble of setting it up in that way, where there's nothing that they could do to give somebody their Bitcoin. So that's a concern. And the other thing that I thought of, and I think about this stuff all the time in my own head, in terms of like, what if we're just kind of being led into this thing by governments, by the world leaders into Bitcoin? They're going to make it very valuable. They're going to let everybody see the value there and why people would use it, how much better it is than everything else. And then they're going to do something like that. They're either going to take it from you or they're going to know exactly how much you have. And somebody like me, who doesn't have a lot of experience and knowledge in like tech stuff, like I'm sure if the government wanted to figure out how much Bitcoin I bought or, where I'm sending my Bitcoin to, stuff like that, I'm pretty sure they could figure that out. There are ways where you can do it very privately. If you have a VPN or you have, a burner phone or different things, or you're running a Linux, there are ways to do it very privately where the government wouldn't know, maybe. But again, for the most part, most people aren't going to do that. Most people aren't going to go through the trouble of setting it up in that way, securing it properly. And most people aren't going to go through the process of making it very private. So those are two very big risks, in my opinion, for Bitcoin. It could happen. And again, there are ways to combat both sides of that, the security and the privacy aspect of it. But for the most part, people aren't going to do that. So that is a problem, I foresee anyways. But again, when you think about it and you say, okay, well, these things are available, maybe I should take some time now and actually learn how to do this, learn how to use superback, learn how to encrypt my recovery phrases, learn how to hold Bitcoin in the sense that you don't have to have any trace of Bitcoin in your house. No recovery phrases, no devices, no laptops, no Bitcoin laptops, no steel plates, nothing. You should, irregardless of how much Bitcoin you have. Some people might be a little bit more in a rush, the more Bitcoin you have. But if you have Bitcoin right now in 2025, first of all, you're not understanding how valuable that is. But second part is you should be taking actionable steps to get that set up for yourself. Because the more secure we can be, the more private we can be, and the more steps we can take towards both of those, the less of a vulnerability this is going to be. The less ability, the less incentives the governments and whoever could potentially do this would have. And again, I'm not saying that this is like a high probability thing that the government's going to come and say, hey, we know you bought Bitcoin back in 2025, hand it over. I don't think that that's going to happen. And I guess I'll say the main reason why I don't think that that's going to happen is because we're moving into a different system here. We're moving into an open source, decentralized system. Slowly, more nationalized, less globalization, less centralization. We're moving out of that system. And so, in my opinion, there's going to be, in 10 years from now, everything's going to look a lot different. But why I believe that the governments won't do that, especially in the US, is because we're going to go through 4 years here. And I know that the first couple months here of this administration has been very rocky. There's been good days. There's been days where people hate Trump, where they respect what he's doing. Very rocky in the short term. But over the long term, things are going to slowly get better here for everybody, especially in the US. And I don't think it wouldn't make any sort of sense for somebody in 10 years from now to vote for something else, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I don't think it's a likely scenario where the government starts coming after your Bitcoin. I think that it would be very difficult. But the other thing I would say there is the more we use this thing, the more privately we use this thing, the harder it's going to be for anybody to do that. Because just imagine the government. And the other part of this too is as the fiat dollar continues to lose power, lose value, the governments are also inherently going to lose power as well. Right? Think about that. Think about the people who are working for the government today, whether it's the US government, the Canadian government, whatever it is, they're working for fiat. And that fiat is going to continue to lose purchasing power at a very increased rate in the next 10 years. So whatever power they have today and influence that they have today because of the fiat dollar, they're not going to have that in 10 years from now. So imagine that. Imagine there's a whole bunch of people in every country using Bitcoin in a private way on these different layers like Lightning, Liquid, eCash. And imagine the government is shifting to be less relevant. They have less resources. The fiat dollar that they use to fund this bullshit is losing power. Do you think that they're actually going to be able to do that? Do you think that they're going to have the resources to tell people to go around to people's houses and take their Bitcoin? I don't think that they'll just play that out in your head. Think about how many people work for the government. I know it's a lot today, but that's going to go down, both because we're moving into a decentralized world and because their currency is going to continue losing value. So do you think that they're going to have enough resources to go house to house or door to door or however you want to look at that to find people and try to get their Bitcoin? No, I don't think that that's even a possible scenario. I do think that they might be able to figure out who owns how much Bitcoin and specifically target bigger balances, bigger holders, using AI, using things, they have all this information. So that's why it's important that if you are here today, you should be thinking about a more secure way for your Bitcoin, such as super backed. Super backed is kind of like the pinnacle, the peak of your security. And when you realize what you're holding here, you should be taking every step to get there over time. It's not something that happens in a week or a month or even a year, but you should be taking actionable steps to at least start the conversation, start looking into it, see how you can improve that. Because, the last thing you want to do is wait for the value of Bitcoin to be what I'm speaking of here, and then have to make adjustments then. You want to get your shit together now for when that time comes. Because if that time comes and you haven't done it yet, you're going to be totally screwed. You can't undo a lot of things in Bitcoin, especially like in a short time frame. So you have to be thinking about this stuff today. Irregardless of how much Bitcoin you have, you should start taking actionable steps towards something like that. In my opinion. Okay, where are we here? Into the orange. Didn't see you there. Cheers, Jor. Cheers, my friend. Good to see you over in the Zap stream. Shout out to everybody on the Zap stream. We got 11 people over there right now. But that's the kind of stuff you got to be doing. You have to be using Bitcoin. You have to be looking after your security. You have to be utilizing things like Nostr and Zapstream and eCash. We have to be learning this stuff because this isn't going to be, although Bitcoin, in my opinion, is inevitable, we get to decide how fast adoption happens and how quickly it happens and who's owning the Bitcoin. We get to decide that. And how privately we're able to hold Bitcoin. And that was the other thing too that I should mention on that note is that if you actually go back and listen to Trump's speech at Bitcoin Conference 2024, I think that was a much bigger speech than people give it credit for today. But one of the things that he talked about there, he said that Bitcoin allows for sovereignty, and he's going to protect people's rights to hold Bitcoin in a sovereign way, in cold storage. He wants to protect that. And so again, you have Trump there today. You're going to have probably JD Vance in 4 years from now, and their whole team that they're building. As you know, as people see this get better and better for America, why would you ever vote anything else for a long time? Maybe not forever, but and you know, I'm still kind of under the opinion that voting is like the adult version of sending a letter to Santa Claus. But it seems like the right people are pulling the strings right now. The right people are in power. The right people are writing policy. And I really think that over time here, a lot of the shit that's been done for the last 50 years is going to be undone. And Odell's been talking about that too. He said that he thinks that this point in history is the only chance we're going to have to reverse the Bank Secrecy Act, which has been a huge underrated part of, you know, how bad things have gotten, that allows for things like Operation Choke Point and 2.0. So we're moving away from that. I think that a lot of that damage is actually going to be undone. It's going to take some time. It's going to be very painful and rocky, but that's kind of, that's how I see it. I'm very optimistic, but that doesn't mean that you can shortcut here. There are no shortcuts in Bitcoin. You can't just buy it and hope it's going to be there. You can't buy a bunch of altcoins and hope that one day you're going to flip that into more Bitcoin. There are no shortcuts. You have to go through learning lessons. You have to touch the stove. You have to know what you're doing. And it's all part of the process. You can't shortcut it. Proof of work, not just the algorithm in Bitcoin, but Bitcoin itself is proof of work. You have to go through all these different things in order, very slowly, and you have to put in the time if you really want to make this, because it doesn't matter how much Bitcoin you have today. It's going to matter how much Bitcoin you have in 20 years from now, in 50 years from now. And if your foundation is shit, your security is shit, your mentality, your perspective, your knowledge is shit, you're probably not going to have that Bitcoin in 20 years from now or 50 years from now. So that's what I would say to that. Sorry, I missed a comment here. Joe, I got to run. I'm going to let the stream run. Hit me up later, brother. Be safe. Thanks, Joe. I don't know who sent that zap, but might have been Joe. Might have been one of the 30 Bitcoin holders in the chat. Sorry here. What did I miss? Rock Creation says, if you had 4K to invest, would you purchase 4K Bitcoin or buy a miner capable of 200 terahash per second? I would buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin in self-custody. 4K in miners will get you about $1 a year in returns after electricity. You'll break even. Yep, I agree with that. Running solar. Okay, changes the conversation slightly here. That does change things slightly. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because if you have zero energy costs and you can earn, if you hook that $4,000 worth of mining equipment up to a pool and you're earning those sats non-KYC, you know, I might actually lean towards that. I might. It's a tough one. You could probably do some math on your own, I think. Yeah, that's a tough one. It also depends on how much Bitcoin you have. Like if you're trying to get more Bitcoin, let's say you have like, you know, 20 million sats and you're trying to get to like 50 or to 1 Bitcoin, I would probably put it into Bitcoin just to get more sats right now. But if you're already like comfortable with your stack, you know, maybe you have a Bitcoin, maybe you have half a Bitcoin. If you're already comfortable with that, and I don't know how many people are comfortable with their stack, but then you could do the miner and just get some non-KYC Bitcoin. That's a good option. It really is. And even the fact that you have to like think on it, it means that there's no real clear-cut answer there. Definitely having free electricity would be the only thing there. If you didn't have free electricity, I would never suggest doing that. BTC Backpacker, mowing lawns for sats. Duncan says, where do you keep your devices if you have super backed? Well, it really depends. So every time that we help somebody with super backed, it all depends on their situation. It depends on who they trust. It depends on their risk tolerance. But in like a perfect scenario here, you could keep your devices in a safety security box somewhere. That's probably what I would recommend. And you have to remember that that's probably sounds like a dumb idea because you have to trust somebody with it, but you really don't. Because even if somebody went rogue at the bank, let's say that one of the workers knew that you had Bitcoin, they broke into your safety security box, got your devices. They can't do anything with the devices. They're locked, right? They have your PIN code. It's much different than just leaving 12 or 24 words, the recovery phrases in a safety security box. Because if somebody in that case got access to your box, they would have your Bitcoin in 5 minutes because your 12, 24 words is written in plain text. So there's no further security there. They break into your safe or your security box and you have 12 words sitting there, your Bitcoin's gone in a flash. Whereas if you keep your devices in there, they would have to know your PIN. And if they tried a bunch of different PINs and failed, I think after about 10 guesses, most devices brick themselves. And in that case, you'd have your recovery phrase backed up with super backed that you could easily just restore it into a new device. And, you might even go, here's another part of it too. Like I love thinking through this stuff. This is my bread and butter in Bitcoin. There's people who are good with charts. There's people who are good with, the macro, the bonds, the stocks, everything like that. My thing is like security and thinking things through. So with that, let's say that you had your devices at a bank. That is a vulnerability because they would know that you had your devices. Somebody could take those devices, come to your house and hold you at gunpoint and make you put in your PIN code for that. You should also have a multi-sig set up there so it wouldn't be that easy. It'd still be very difficult for them. But if you had your devices, and let's say you had at your parents' house or your brother's house or somebody a good friend that you trust, you could buy a safe, you could leave it in their garage, you could put your devices in there. And so then even if somebody came across that, number one, if it was your friend and they went rogue on you, they can't do anything there. I mean, that would be your only vulnerability there, is if your friend turned on you. Because they could essentially take your safe, come to your house, hold you at gunpoint, say, give me your Bitcoin, enter your PIN. But for the most part, you're going to be doing this with somebody that you trust. So hopefully nobody that you trust in that way would do that to you. But it still could happen, right? So we can't write it off. But a better idea would be, or a more likely scenario would be somebody breaks into their house, gets their safe, finds the devices, but has no idea whose devices they are, and they can't access those devices because you have a PIN code securing them. So that would probably be the best option there. Keeping your devices in a separate location with somebody that you trust very much in a safe. That would probably be my recommendation. You're probably going to be fine in a bank too, but there is still a small chance that somebody could break into the safe or your security box, come to your house. There's a chance. And if you think that there's no chance that could happen, I think you're fooling yourself. DR says, even with Solar, I still don't see it. The only advantage is the non-KYC Bitcoin. Yeah, I would agree with that. You're not going to, unless you're solo mining and you hit a block, but then you're just kind of you might be wasting all that. Don't underestimate the level of governmental corruption. 100%. I agree with you. And that's why we need to be thinking about this stuff. I'm under the opinion that it probably won't happen, but that doesn't mean that it can't. Hey, look at that. Recently purchased a BitAxe from Solo Satoshi. Solo mining is on the brain. I got 2 Solo Satoshis running now. And I actually have a store with, I don't know if you use this link or not. It doesn't matter too much. But there's a link for anybody. That's the Bitcoin Journey store with Solo Satoshi. If you're in the market for a BitAxe, get a couple of them. Make it worthwhile. Get 2, get 3, whatever you want to do. Okay, it's 10:15. I'm missing the masters here, and I'm talking about Bitcoin security. What am I doing? Joe says, depending on what the ROI of the miner is, usually 400 days or so. And then DR says 400 days on a new miner with a huge cost. 4K miner is old at that point. Yeah, that's the thing about miners is they're just going to keep getting more and more efficient over time. And you're going to have to, the more efficient miners will have a greater odds of hitting a block. Dark says the U.S. government will just nationalize MicroStrategy stack versus chasing down individual owners. Yeah, see, I agree with that. And I don't think that it would be like a forceful thing. If that ever happens, I'm pretty sure that would have been planned for a long time. I mean, the Trumps have known Saylor for 20 years. All of this stuff, none of this stuff is happening by accident, in my opinion. You just have to connect some dots. You have to use your brain. You have to use logic, use your brain, connect the dots, and nobody's going to come on TV and tell you something. And if they do, you're already late to it. That's what a lot of people get wrong, is that by the time the news or you see something, an official announcement on something, you're too late to it. Opportunity's gone. Diego, good morning. Good morning, buddy. Oh, we got a green light here. 88 sats. Great number. Looks like it came from Zapstream, but I don't see who it was from. Okay, well, we'll go on here for another 5 or 10 minutes, I'd say. If there's any more questions. Any more P's, any more Q's? Oh, Zapstream's not working either. But you know what is working? Zap me a coffee. Don't need an Oster, just need a Lightning wallet, and you can zap a coffee. If you learned anything today, if anything that I said helps, any questions you had, feel free. Dibson says, question, does it make a difference long-term if I DCA monthly versus separating that into weekly buys? No. I mean, it probably would. Like if you did that for 5 years, you said what one exchange, let's say you did Bitcoin well for the weekly, one exchange for the monthly, you would at the end of 5 years have different results there. One of those wallets would have more sats than the other one, but it's impossible to predict. If you're doing weekly, you would be doing, you'd be buying more of the average. If you're doing monthly, I would say there's more risk of like up and down, more swings, right? Because the more often you're doing a DCA, the more you're buying the average. The longer you wait between buys, the more chance for bigger swings. So it would make a difference, but I don't think that it would be, because sometimes you might get lucky. If you're doing a monthly one, and let's say that it drops right at the end of the month before you buy it, then you're taking more of your dollars and you're buying Bitcoin with that. So you're getting more sats than you would have got through a weekly buy. But it could go the other way too, right? If the price shot up and you said that, okay, well, at the end of the month, it shot up right before you bought it, you would get less sats than somebody who had been buying weekly. So they would be different, but there's no real way to predict which one would be better. I say either weekly or monthly, both great. If you're super hardcore like Jerry from Jerry Loves Freedom, you'd be buying every day. Then you're buying more of the average. There's less volatility there. So the longer you wait between buys, the more volatility you'll see within Bitcoin, which could go either way. Some months you might win, some months you might lose, but for an effective DCA, it should be kind of like shorter time periods between. Does that make sense? And look at that. Somebody just zapped a coffee from Mark. Said, thanks, Jor. Learning lots. Mark. Thank you, Mark. Cheers, buddy. Last sip of coffee. All right. Tyler, good morning, buddy. Good to see you. I'll be 113 in 50 years. Well, you might be still around, depending on how much technology continues to advance here. Jay says, build it into your heating system for additional value. 100%. Every person, in my opinion, especially here in the prairies, is going to have a Bitcoin miner heating their house in the future. DR says you can also just wipe your cold storage device and only reactivate it with the seed phrase if you need to send coin. Yep. Absolutely true. Tyler says, when you recover your seed phrase into a new wallet, would you wipe your device and get a new seed phrase? When you recover your seed phrase into a new wallet, would you wipe your device and get a new seed phrase? It really depends on why you're having to recover your wallet in the first place. Like if you just lost it or you locked yourself out of it, you're probably fine to just recover it into a new wallet. But if like something happened that caused you to have to recover it, like if somebody broke into your house and stole your device, then yes, obviously you'd wipe it, get a new seed phrase. So it really depends on why you're recovering the seed phrase into a new wallet. Yeah. If there's a chance that somebody else knows your seed phrase or you know, if you're in a vulnerable spot, then of course, wipe it, get a new seed phrase, and then move the Bitcoin into there. Isn't Shamir's secret easier for normal guys like us rather than multi-sig more for corporates? No. I mean, people who ask that kind of question, I don't mean to be rude here, Vinny, but you're assuming that Bitcoin's purchasing power is going to kind of stay the same around as it is today. So if you had like $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, you think that that's kind of what it's going to be worth, and that's all you need to protect. That $10,000 worth of Bitcoin is going to be worth more than you could ever imagine. And the longer you're in Bitcoin, the harder it is for you to keep that Bitcoin. And so you shouldn't be taking any sort of shortcuts. You should be, whether you're an individual, a business, anybody, you should be taking this stuff very seriously. I call it bank level security, but better, because the bank's protecting fake money. You're protecting the greatest asset in human history. So it might be easier, but you don't want to take the easy road here. You want to take the most difficult, the hard path to make sure that whatever Bitcoin you have today, you have in 50, 100, 500 years from now, that your family has that and that they can access it and that it's there. Like there's no shortcuts in Bitcoin. Okay, Dibson, you're welcome, my friend. If you learn anything, we got a lot of different ways you can send some value back here for free. Just saying. So anyways, with that, I hope you all have an amazing day today. I'm going to go check out some masters now, finally. Bodhi and I have our show, Bitcoin Generations, or his show that I'm on at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So check that out. We spend a lot of time having conversations like this. It's designed for like newer Bitcoiners, but we get into a variety of topics. So Bitcoin Generations, 2 p.m. Eastern time today, Bodhi, myself. And if you'd rather watch the masters, I understand. But if not, stop by. It's mostly dedicated for baby boomers and anybody who's somewhat new to Bitcoin or just wants to learn more. We keep it fairly basic around there. So thank you once again, everybody. A big shout out to the second ever iconic zap in Bitcoin journey history, 88,888 sats. Iconic zap. Thank you, Cleaner Machine, for the coffee. Thank you, Mark, for the coffee. Thank you for the anonymous 15,000 sat zap that said, suck on these Chinese nuts. And big shout out to Josh, too, for the 8,000, our favorite number, 8,888 sat zap. And Dale, 1,100 sats, call me. I have a big idea for you. So, yes, everybody, have yourselves a great day. We'll be back first thing tomorrow morning. So we got Bitcoin Generations, we got the Daily Bitcoin Journey tomorrow, and then we got the Maple Bitcoin live stream tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that's it. Everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the other zaps too. Sorry I couldn't get through them all, but those were the fatties for today. And and Letha. Sorry, Letha. 2,100 sats. The first one of the day. How did I miss that one? So anyways, thanks everybody. Have a great day, and stack sats like your life depends on it, as LaPad says. You want to say bye, Arn? Look at that. Nice exit from Arnie. Can you wave? Could you imagine? All right, everybody. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.